talking about within the United States. I'm talking about international. Like if you wanted to
Yeah.
truly grow worldwide, you definitely have to be able to.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of C&V Productions Presents. And today we present the learning session, where we talk about different episodes that we've had, different guests, and some of the things that we learned throughout our conversations. Cecil, why don't you kick us off today?
Yeah, sure, Vic. So we have been, what Vic and I have been talking, and what we noticed is with a lot of the guests that we've had, they've got different viewpoints on how they approach business. They come from different cultures, and that impacts their decision making for their business, how they go out and move their business forward. And we wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about that, how coming from a different background, um, coming from different experiences in life can help you. We're basically going to be talking about how diversity can positively impact your business. So we wanted to really get into a informal conversation around what we think around diversity and how it can positively impact your business and growth. And if you're not considering it, how can it impact you negatively as well? Does that sound good?
Sounds good, Cecil.
All right.
I'll
So
say this. Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
I was going to say, one of the things for me, having, I'll say, been in the corporate environment for some time now, is that when you have diversity, there's never something that you don't learn. You learn so much from the different cultures, different backgrounds, different perspectives, uh, people who've grown within the United States, who've been born and raised in other countries. You just learn so much, and you continue to learn, just because, again, everyone's experience is different. Everyone's upbringing is different. The way they see the world is different.
Mhm.
And sometimes they bring something to the table that you may have not thought of. And it's important for business owners to understand that if they want to have, if they want to expand their reach. So you may start out small, but as you start to grow, you have to understand that if you have diversity, you will be able to understand the different audiences that you can reach, your different customer base, right? You're going to want to grow that customer base.
Yep.
And in order for you to do that, you need to be able to understand how they see and what makes them tick. And again, everyone, while we all may be in the same, even in the same town, right? You could be in a local town, but everyone there could be seeing the world differently. And it's important that you understand that, so that you can service people better, so that you can provide the services, products, whatever it may be, to meet their needs.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you tell me, Cecil, what have you experienced?
Well, yeah, it's the same thing. Listen, what I've seen is that most of the most successful businesses that you see out there have some level of diversity in there, because the reality is that, let's say you're growing up, you're around a certain type of people all the time. And this is any culture. This is not any one specific. This is any culture. You're around a certain amount of people all the time. These are the type of people that you're comfortable with. They look like you, they sound like you, they have the same ideas. They think about the same things, they approach things the same way. Now, that may be good when you're trying to market your business to that group of people. But if you want to grow outside that group, how are you going to do it? Right? We all have our different quirks. We're all human beings, first off. So we're all the same from that aspect. But we all grow up a little bit differently. We all have different backgrounds. We all have different things that we look towards, different ways of communicating within our communities. And these are things that, from a business perspective, you want to tap into so you can access those resources that are possible clients, right? So how are you going to do that if you don't surround yourself with people that can actually help you get into that market, right? And it helps to grow your business. If you're thinking of a business, I mean, how many times have we seen businesses that would seem to only focus on one type of one group, right? Now, that's going to be fine if that group can support you for years to come, sure, if that's possible. But the reality is if I can focus on your group and 10 others, I'm going to have a more successful business than you. So anyone that says that diversity is not something that can impact your business positively, then they're obviously not looking at the numbers correctly. Because, to be very honest, from an insurance standpoint, I want a Spanish speaking person in my industry. I want a person that speaks Farsi. I don't care. Any other language. I want people that can speak different languages so I can service as many people as possible. And everyone that comes to my business feels comfortable. Right.
Yep. And I'll say this, Cecil, and when people hear diversity, me included, I tend to fall into the trap of, you think about, whether it's a culture, or whether it's a race. But the reality is that you could have people, and I've experienced this, where you have people from different cultures and races, but they all think the same, right? So if you have like a technical, or you think like a technologist, you're all talking the same language. So I could be from the US, someone else could be from Europe, and so on, but we're all kind of thinking the same way. And that's not really diverse, right? And so like we're all technicians or technical. But if you bring someone in who thinks more of a marketer or an accounting person, now you have some diversity, right? It's like you have someone who sees things a little bit different, talks a little bit different, but it will help you see sort of like you'll get exposed to different ideas and how they see things, as opposed to saying, hey, we're all saying the same thing, so we must be right.
Right. Yeah.
It's no. Someone may come in from, again, someone who has maybe a sales background or marketing background. And again, they're more of a, let's call them creatives as opposed to technical. And they're going to come in and say, well, what about this, right? What about like, they're seeing the world from a creative standpoint, more like less of a scientist and more of a art person, and saying, what about these colors? Things that, again, that technologists really aren't. We're just thinking about zeros and ones, right? It's either black or white. And we all know that there's gray, right? And so it's like they come in with that gray idea and you're like, oh, maybe that'll work. But you got to give that, you got to have that diversity to have that different thought process. Because if you don't, then you're going to have everyone thinking the same way, which it may be comfortable. And it may sound like, hey, if we're all thinking this way, we must be right.
Yeah.
But we may be wrong. And so like that's, if you bring someone with a different ideas, different thought process, you give yourself that opportunity to see those blind spots that, you're going to have, because we all have them. Right.
Right. Well, I think we got to realize there's nothing wrong with getting different inputs. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's like, if you're running a business and you have an issue with being wrong, you're going to have a problem. Right. Because if someone in your organization says, listen, this is how we're going to be able to reach out. This is a way, they bring you an idea and it's totally contradictory to what you've thought about. Right. But there is some real facts behind what they're saying. Mm-hmm. And you just choose to ignore it because that's not the way it's normally done. Right. So you're excluding a diversity. Basically, you're excluding a good idea because it doesn't fit where your thought process is. But the facts show you something different. So you're going to ignore the facts just because you think you're right and you don't want to be wrong. That's not a leader. That's not a person that can grow a business. That's just a person that has an ego. Mm-hmm. And ego is really not a good place for business. You have to be able to take in good ideas. And if good ideas are not always going to come from people that think just like you, good ideas are going to come from people that think opposite, that have other ideas that can be maybe added onto your idea, right? So if you and I are been hanging out for 20 years and we talk the same way, we do everything basically the same. And then somebody comes in and says, hey, you guys can do this a little bit differently. And we look at it and say, you know what? That actually sounds like a good idea. That's leadership, right? Because we listened and we said, okay, there may be a better way to do it. We're not the smartest people in the room, and we want the best people to give us the best ideas. So, and that really comes back to, like I said, the diversity piece of it and the importance of it. And that's really what our show was about. the podcast is all about that, bringing that in and having conversation with other business owners to see how they're doing things, right? So
Yeah,
you
and,
see that.
even with the few guests that we've had, Cecil, you see it. We have
Yeah,
people from different backgrounds, different. They're in different industries, but and it's very interesting to see how they go about managing and handling their business.
yeah, yeah. Very
How they go
interesting.
about it, how they go about getting new clientele,
Yeah,
how they go about networking, how they go about expanding, uh, and their thought processes. There may be some similarities,
right.
but a lot of them take different approaches. And it's very interesting to observe because then we get exposed, like you and I get exposed to those different thought processes. And
Yep.
now we're thinking like, oh, how can we leverage some of that to take advantage of it, make our business grow, right? Help our podcast grow.
Yeah.
So it's all very interesting. You just have to be open-minded and just listen,
Yeah.
take it in, right? You may not agree. There may be things that are said that we're like, okay, that's an interesting take on it. But if you're not willing to, like to your point, if you're not willing to just sit there, listen, and have a debate about it, then you're just going to be stuck in your own way, and you may be missing out on opportunities.
Oh yeah. Well, now I'm gonna ask you this. Like,
Yeah.
have you ever seen a corporate structure of a business and you look at the business and there's all one type of people on there? Like in the top levels, it's the executive, and it may be a family run business,
Right.
but they, have a board or whatever, and it's all the same type of people, right? And then you look at even the hires, it's all the same type of people. It's right. And it's not like you're saying, oh, there's a problem within the organization. The issue is that there's a comfort level in that organization,
Right.
right? When you see it, you see there's a comfort level. We are comfortable in this environment. So we don't want to change that or mess it up. So we're, and they may not even be thinking about it. They're like, this is the environment we grew up in. This is the environment, the people that we've always been around. So we just, when we're looking for hires, the person that's already on the team says, oh, I know a good person. Let me bring them on. And you're like, oh, well, they fit, yeah, it's kind of like my aunt that I knew for years ago. I'll just hire her. That's fine. Right. So, but there's no thought process in that, right? It's just like, that's a gut feeling. It feels good. It feels comfortable. But the reality is are you growing?
Right.
Right.
It is. It's one of those things where uh, people are comfortable. Why am I going to fix something that isn't broken?
Right. Yeah.
And as you grow, as you evolve, and we've said this before, what worked in the past may not work in the future. And the likelihood is
Right.
that it won't.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about evolution in one of our episodes, right? We talked about growing and having the foresight to say, hey, we can't continue in this fact. What got us here is great and it's
Right.
working, but we need to diversify
Yeah.
because if we're going to grow and we want to survive as whether it's the evolution of the industry or the world itself, um, everything's going to change. And so what are we doing to adjust to that change? And if we don't have that additional or diverse thought, then we're going to crumble, right? Because we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over. And that's why diversity is important because, again, you're going to bring someone in or people in that are just going to give you a different perspective on things. And it'll make you think because you know what? Again, yes, we started this business as a family, 5 strong. Now we're 100 strong. Now we're 1,000 strong. And again, what worked back then is probably not going to work now. And so
Right.
you need to be able to adjust. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is with new ideas, new thoughts, new perspectives. And all
New
that comes from
approaches.
diversifying.
Yeah.
So it's important.
Exactly.
It's important to definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah. A business can't really grow without it, even though, we may be told that, yeah, we can. I mean, it can't. I mean, just from thinking about from my business, and that's the only bit that's the business I'm working in, right? I want to be able for every single person that needs insurance to contact me, contact my agency, and feel comfortable in doing that, right? I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable in being able to talk about what they need. So my approach is always how can I identify those markets where we can get into, where we can help as many people as possible. And I always look at it like this: if every business isn't kind of thinking about that, then it's like my point. Why are you in business? If you're not willing to service everyone, shut your doors, in my opinion, because you're not really doing you're not really focusing on what business is about. It's about getting what your product or your service out to as many people as possible and being able to provide the best service possible.
No.
But if you're just thinking, oh, well, I don't want to service certain types of people, then honestly, in my opinion, you shouldn't be in business.
No.
Right? You shouldn't be, because that
even
makes no sense.
Yeah, even talking about your business, Cecil. I mean, so you say insurance,
Yeah,
but you diversify within that. Like, it's not just
yeah,
auto
right.
insurance.
It's not just auto, right? It's not just one type of insurance, right?
Right. It's all types of insurance, and so
Yeah.
you're diversifying, and it's just like any investor that you hear it all the time. You need to diversify your portfolio, and that's exactly this. It's the same concept. It's like you can't put all your eggs in one basket. Right?
No.
You have to have a diversity so that you have, again, some wiggle room. So if for whatever reason there's a downturn in car insurance,
Right.
you still have home insurance, right? It's like you're putting yourself in a position where there may be a lag or there may be some downsizing or something in one part of your business, but you're able to, because you're diversified, you can take advantage of the other part of the business. And so the same thing is true with customers, right? It's like if you're just focusing on one specific group, and for whatever reason that group decides, hey, we're not gonna buy anymore,
right?
Or
we can't buy.
We can't. Yes, right. You're going to have opportunities elsewhere, and you have to be ready for that, because you can't just assume that everyone's going to, right. Again, the economy, something could be wrong with the economy, whatever it is, right? There's just a bunch of different variables that could affect one group that may not be affecting another group. And so you want to have that diversification, but you yourself and your business has to have that, has to have that knowledge and that diversity built in it. Because if you don't, you're not going to see that. You're not going to service them, and you're going to lose on big opportunities there.
Yeah, 100%. And, a lot of times I don't want to think that anyone is purposely making decisions not to service types of groups or not to, focus on on a diverse environment or diverse mindset to get out to as many people as possible. But I think it just comes along with, what people are used to and what people are comfortable with, because you can get into a comfort level very easily. If you run a business, it's making money, it's helping you provide for your family, it's not, you're not growing, but you're not dying, right? And you're just dealing with the same type of people that you see every day, right? And it's very easy to get comfortable with that. So if you're looking at growth and opportunities, and I'm not even talking about within the United States, I'm talking about international. Like if you wanted to truly grow worldwide, you definitely have to be able to speak to different types of people. Not only speak to them in your language, but in their language, in their approach to life and expectation. Because, in places like, for example, like in I won't say a specific company, but other countries, work-life balance is a huge part of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
So if you, in a mindset like in the United States, where, we're going to work certain times, some people will be working on a weekend, 60, 70 hours a week. And then you go to another country where they're like, no, we take a siesta at noon, bro. It's like 2 hours at least. It's like, well, that's a whole different approach. So if you don't have anybody in your organization that understands that approach, how exactly are you going to speak to these people? How are you going to understand, what's important to them, so you can, build your structure around speaking to them and bringing them in and understanding what you can do to service them and help their lives, right? Yeah. If you can't have that conversation at that level, then you're not going to be able to do anything. You're not going to be able to grow in that market. So, these are the types of things that, we as business owners really have to think about. And like I said before, I think if a business owner is not really looking to go out and reach out to as many people as possible, of all different backgrounds, of all different mindsets and cultures, I think they're really hurting themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot,
Yeah. let me ask you something, Cecil. I know we're big on networking. We talk about it all the time. But networking aside, what do you do to educate yourself and expose yourself to other, whether it's cultures, just what are you doing to to expose yourself so that when you're talking with someone that's doesn't look like you, doesn't sound like you, that you can tailor your communication style to sort of help them feel comfortable?
Well, I try to read, be very honest. Reading different books, not letting people tell me about a culture or a group,
Mm.
but reading up more about it, trying to understand it, you know, understand the background of like why things are the way they are in that environment. You know, talk to some of the people that, come from that environment, try to understand, where they're coming from, like what their approach is. Um, like if you have employees from a different country, talk to them about the country. Like, what are the things that you guys like to do? What are the things that you do on a daily basis, on the weekends? You know, One thing, it all comes from a level of respect. So you're trying to learn.
Yeah.
You're not trying to, take your biases and put it into their environment. So you coming into the situation with your biases. Just throw that out of the window, and you're going in to try to learn about people. Right. And I think if we all did sort of that, try to learn more about other people, we'd be surprised, right? If we can take the bias that we've had through growing up and things that we've heard and just put that aside, just throw it out of windows. Think of it like it's a blank slate. What you're here to do is learn about these people and the culture and how they go about their daily lives. That's going to help you more, right? That's going to help you more in understanding, one, how you can communicate, two, what value you can actually bring, right? And that's going to help you in growth of your business. Like I said before earlier on, it's like I want, like, and from an employee standpoint, I want more diverse employees, executive branches in my organization as my organization grows. I want people at the top level because I need to hear these inputs because we want to be able to reach out to different communities and get different insights and and just grow to a level that you couldn't even imagine. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that can only happen when you have those different inputs.
Yeah, no, I think it's very important. It's interesting because I know when you and I met,
Yeah.
uh, for me it was eye opening just because when we met, I'm trying to not to give too many specifics, but when we met, we were at, we'll call it a invitational
Right.
for
Yeah.
young, I think college grads or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it was just interesting to see, just the diverse kids from different schools, just different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And you get to see like, wow, okay. And again, because it was sort of like my first exposure into like, hey, this is the rest of America. Because,
Right.
coming from the Northeast, New York City specifically, born and raised, never really went out, or traveled, I should say. But when we went to this invitational and just seeing kids from all throughout the U.S., I'm like, whoa! And you start talking to them, you start to understand where they're from, just how they were raised, what school they went. Like, you get exposed, and you're like, wow, there's so much out there that I was not aware of, right? And so, like, this is just to give people an idea of like, there's always something that you can learn. And so, like, taking that, and then also seeing like, um, that just again, just understanding that the way you grew up, while it helped shape you, there are different ways, right? Different things that can happen that can shape other people, and we're all at the same, we're all playing the same say same game, same level, right? We're at the same level, and that's very interesting because then you start to see like, hey, there's more than one, two, three. There's like many different ways to get to that final point. So it's just something very important that people need to consider when they're trying to scale their business, grow their business, hire more people, hire new people. It's just try to find people that are going to give you that different, right? Because they someone with a different mindset, hopefully they'll interject some good seasoning into your own culture. Sometimes it can
Right, yeah.
backfire,
Yeah.
It can back. I'm not saying that it won't, but sometimes it can backfire. But so most of the time, it's going to be good, right? It's going to create some new flavor into your culture that you didn't have before, and so that will it will get people motivated. It'll get people again just excited to grow and say, hey, you know what? We're now I see it. Now we're evolving. We're changing for the good, for the better.
Oh yeah. I had that experience that you had at that event that we first met at. I had that experience when I was 18 and I went to boot camp.
Right.
Right. And then and serving in the military, very quickly, you're going to see people from places you have never been.
No.
Very quickly. I mean, like first 3 months, I'm a kid from Brooklyn, and in the first few minutes I'm talking to somebody from Alabama, somebody from Texas, right? Somebody from California. It's like automatic. You get to see people from all over the country and get to understand like how they grew up, different things about what's going on, how their life, how they approach different things. And you may look at it like, and it's a shocker because it's like, this is not the way we do things. It's like, and then you realize it's like, no, this is the way that other people do things. Everything that, and especially if you're a kid, you think you've been in an environment where things have always happened a certain way. And now you're out of that environment and you see people do things a different way. People talk a different way. People act a different way. They have different approaches to things. It's not necessarily bad. It's just different. That's all it is. But everybody's going towards the same goal. And that same goal was to make their lives better. Yep. That was it.
I got to ask that. So when you went to the military, did you go with Tim's, and did they have like the guys?
No, I could never afford Tim's. Yo, I was, they talk about Tim's in Brooklyn and all that. That's for cats. I had a good, my family was always, we weren't, super wealthy or anything. I wasn't one of those kids that the parents was like, oh, here, take $100, go buy some $200 shoes. Like, no. It's like, nah, we're going to go and get them Vikings. It's like, $60. You're going to be taking that to school. You're going to be wearing that. And, and I was working to get my own school clothes. So, not that I had to, but, that was just the type of thing we grew up. That was just the way it was, You work to do your thing. But, people would see me differently, right? Just the way I saw them in boot camp and in the military. They saw me as like, oh, this is how it is in New York. And it's not like even cats in New York. We're a little different because it's different sections of New York, and you know how it is, right? Yep. So it's like, no, I didn't have the Timbs. No, couldn't afford that. And my mom's was, my parents weren't really up on that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, what was the most interesting thing that you discovered when you met all these different people? Like, what was the thing that's one thing that stood out, man?
The slang.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like you talking to somebody from Alabama versus somebody from New York or somebody from Jersey, or somebody from Atlanta or, from Georgia and, or Tennessee or something. Like it's the slang, the different way to talk. And it's not funny in a sense like you laughing at somebody. It's just funny. It's like, we're all saying the same thing, but it's coming out real different. It's coming out so different. It's like, almost to the point you gotta be like, say that again. I didn't. Yeah. What was that?
But it must, because so today everyone has access, right? You can see it all, right? You can see how people talk in different states and again different neighborhoods. But back then, we didn't have that, right? No, so that must have been like a culture shock for you. You'd be like, whoa, what?
Yeah. But I'll tell you this. Every person I met was good people.
Yeah.
All of them were good people because everybody had the same goal. Everybody was just there to get, young kids, 18, 19 years old. I mean, we had a dude in there, and my boot camp was 24 years old. We thought that dude was ancient. Like, it's like, he old as hell, bro. He 24. Damn. But everybody was there for the same goal, just to try to make their lives better, man.
Yeah.
And we all understood that. And that's, it's like, I would say it was for the first time we all had something to lose because we were
Mhm.
moving towards making our lives better and doing something different than we all did. We took that step forward and said, okay, we're going to commit to at least these 4 years to try to do something for ourselves. And I met a lot of good guys, man, a lot of good people, you know, all of them, good people.
Good, good.
Yeah. So yeah, just I think we can come to the end. I think we're at kind of the end of the conversation here. I would
Sure.
like to get some comments on this. I'd like to hear people's thoughts, what they think, how they feel about the impact of diversity from a growing a business and and pushing it forward. So hopefully we can get that, and definitely subscribe. We'd love to have more subscribers on here so we can continue this project that we're doing, helping business owners, helping people just maybe thinking about getting in the business,
Yeah.
and really striving to grow. You wanted to add anything quick?
Yeah, just one more thing, Seth. So I'll ask the audience or the viewers this: if there's a question that you would like us to ask, or maybe you've seen an episode and you're like, "Oh, I wish they would have asked this question," put it down in the comments, guys. We will do our very best to put that in there. We're looking for feedback. We want to make the show better. We want to make sure that the show adds value to your life and to your business. So if there is something that we are not asking or something that you wish we would have asked, just put it in there, man. We'll do our best to insert it into our interviews.
Yeah. So again, we thank you all for watching, and we look forward to bringing you some more episodes. And subscribe, comment. We really appreciate you guys taking the time today. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.